What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys, and we're going to be having a look at 5 players that can step up in the absence of Manor Solomon. Obviously, we brought you the sad news yesterday that he has done a meniscus strain and he will be out between 3 to 4 months, which on top of all the other injury news in that specific area of the pitch is terrible news, to be honest. But we do have players in the youth academy and maybe some other players that haven't been given their chance properly. So we're going to have a look at 5 different players that can step up in the absence of Manor Solomon. But before we get into that, please do check out WeAreTottenhamTV.co.uk, which is our brand new website, which we bring you daily blog posts and our brand new merchandise as well. So please do scroll down, click that link in the description and go check out our brand new website. But let's get into looking at those 5 players which can make a difference. And the first player we're going to be looking at is Alejo Véliz.
Obviously, the striker that we brought in the summer for 13 million got his debut against Liverpool last weekend, maybe a bit unexpectedly, but with the circumstances, Liverpool down to 9 men, he had a few minutes. And with Solomon injured, Perisic now injured as well, there could be a gap for him to maybe stake a claim. Obviously, Postecoglou did say we're not going to see much of him in the first half of the season, but we did see him off the bench. So maybe, I don't know if I wouldn't say he's going back on his word, but maybe he's ahead of schedule as to what Postecoglou thinks in terms of his involvement. So it would obviously mean probably Son moving out to the left, or maybe Son could be injured or whatever. But maybe this could open the door if Richarlison is going to be seen more as left winger, for Richarlison to play there and Véliz to get some time up front.
I kind of feel like different games need different solutions, and I feel like if we play against a low block, I think Sonny sometimes gets marked out of the game, and it could be a really good option for Alejo to come in those kind of games. Maybe, like you say, put Sonny on the left, or even start Sonny off the bench and make him an impact sub towards the last half an hour, 20 minutes of games, and start Richarlison on the left, because I feel like against low blocks, Richarlison and Alejo could strike up quite a good understanding, and it could work as a treat, to be honest. And he's got aerial ability. We all know from his time in the Argentinian league, he's very good with his head and scored a lot of goals in that way. And that was men's football as well. It's not like he was in the youth setup and playing against players of his age. He's playing against players that have been there for many years. So I think he's definitely an option that we can use. Ange Postecoglou said after his first PL2 appearance that, you know, he's going to play a few more games in the under-21s, but that hasn't seemed to happen. And the under-21s have played a few games since then. No sign of Alejo at all. And he's been in the matchday squads for the first team. So maybe it could be a really good option for us.
Yeah, I'm excited about the prospect of him being more involved as well. And I'm sure he's excited about it, because I'm sure he wants to just get to grips with things as soon as possible. He doesn't want to be, I wouldn't say wasting time, but I'm sure he doesn't want to be with the under-21s. He wants to be with the first team. You saw how excited he was coming off the bench against Liverpool, and how he's been involved in some of the goal celebrations as well. So I think if we think he's ready, I think get him more involved, especially with our injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And the minutes that he did get against Liverpool, I know like he didn't have time or even time on the ball or many touches to really announce himself to the Spurs fans, but I felt like the few times he did get on the ball and the few touches that he did make, it did look impressive.
Yeah, a couple of touches, yeah.
So anyway, let's move on to number 2, and that number 2 is Bryan Gil. Obviously, we bought him many years ago now, hasn't seemed to really kickstart life as a Tottenham player. He's been on many loans. Sevilla last year winning the Europa League and playing quite a key part in that Europa League run as well, scoring a couple of goals all the way to the final, playing minutes in the final as well. When we did sign him, it was a crazy transfer, wasn't it? Like 25 million plus Eric Lamela for Bryan Gil, and it hasn't seemed to have paid off just yet. But just before we loaned him out to Sevilla, he started to really like get to grips with life at Tottenham, and it was a very weird situation where we loaned him out after probably his best few performances in the Spurs shirt. But now with injuries here, maybe a gap has opened for him.
I actually cast your mind back to when we did sign him, and he actually had a fairly good start, if I remember, under Nuno. He played a few games in the Conference League. I mean, I remember against Pacos in a few games where he was actually looking like quite good. Everyone was getting very excited about him. I remember, I think he started a Carabao Cup game against Wolves. I remember where he scored that penalty.
We were there that day, and he actually
had a great game.
Not only did he have a great game, but a lot of people kind of talk about him physically and how he's physically not ready for English football. But I remember that game where he actually nicked the ball off Adama Traore quite a number of times that game, like with his sliding tackles, and actually like standing up to the physical challenge, and that's Adama Traore.
100%. So, like, I remember he had a decent start, and then obviously the Nuno thing happened. Conte comes in, and then Conte literally just didn't use him apart from some cameo appearances. Even though in those cameo appearances, I remember him coming off the bench against Frankfurt, doing quite well in the away game and in the home game, winning a penalty, I remember, late in that game. And then, as you say, he had his best spell right around January time, where we had injuries. He started against Palace. He got a really nice assist, and he had a few other good cameo appearances in around that time. And then we loaned him out again in the next season. So I feel like when he has played, I don't think he's been bad. He just hasn't really been given a proper chance or run in the team.
Why do you think that is, though? Like, because even with injuries, he's always kind of like the last thought at this football club. Even like in the transfer market, we get all our business done, and he's always like the last thought, like last second of the window, he goes out on loan.
I agree. Maybe it's a bit disrespectful how we've been treating him, to be honest. I feel like he should be given more opportunities. I feel like he's done all right when he's done them. His loan spells have been a bit hot and cold, but they haven't been disastrous. Like the Sevilla one, did he not start the Europa League final? Or I'm
not sure if he started and went off at half time or came on at half time.
He was very involved in the run. He got an assist in the semi-final.
Him and Lamela were linking up. Like, this is so classic Spurs. Like, we sell Lamela for 25 million plus Bryan Gil, and then they go win the Europa League with Lamela and Bryan Gil working together to win it for them.
He assisted the winner in the semi-final, didn't he? For Lamela.
Yeah.
So, like, he had a pivotal role for Sevilla out on loan. So it wasn't by any means like a disaster. It went pretty well for him. So I think now, under an attacking manager who likes his wingers to play like Bryan Gil likes to play, I think this could be a really good opportunity for him. Obviously, looking at the squad going into this season, you're thinking, where's he going to get a look in? But I wouldn't say it's lucky, because obviously we've got injuries. But from his point of view, like, he's now got an opportunity, and I really hope he grabs it. And I think if I'm picking someone who I want to see get the opportunity, it would be Bryan Gil.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, they're saying like for this weekend it'll probably come a bit too soon for him to start the game, but he will be involved and he will be on the bench. So I hope he comes on and really struts his stuff this weekend. But in terms of like the players that we're talking about, especially the first two who have been firmly part of the first team for the past couple of weeks, or not Bryan Gil's case because he's been injured, but I think Bryan Gil is probably the front runner to emerge out of this situation.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Let's talk about three youth players now that have really been making strides in the PL2 for the Tottenham under-21s. We'll start off with Jamie Donley. He's played predominantly as like attacking midfielder, second striker. 5 games this season, 3 goals, 6 assists, and that's just in the PL2 alone. He has got more goals in other competitions as well. But he seems like a really impressive player, and every time I watch highlights of him, he just looks so much like Harry Kane. The way he kind of holds himself and struts his stuff, like even like his penalty run-ups look like very Harry Kane-esque, and the way he passes the ball, very Harry Kane-esque. So I think he's been taking a lot of kind of influence from Harry Kane in the way he plays his football.
Yeah, and he looks like a real talent, doesn't he? He's absolutely smashing out at the moment for the in the PL2, the under-21s, and he obviously got on the bench against Liverpool. Unfortunately, didn't get involved off the bench, but that shows to me that Ange really believes this guy can be a first-team player in the near future. And now with all these injuries, is it a case of, look, you never know when it comes with youth players how they're going to react when they get the opportunity. Look at Rashford. No one heard of Rashford and before he got his opportunity, and all of a sudden, I remember it well, like Man United had like a massive injury crisis and they literally had no other players, and they just threw Rashford in, I think in a Europa League game, and he scored 2 goals and literally never looked back from that moment on. Wayne Rooney started for Everton against Arsenal, scored I think on his debut, didn't he, a 25-yarder, never looked back. Like, you just never know. And I know he's 18 and he's very young and you don't want to put too much pressure on him, but maybe this could be that kind of moment where we've got loads of injuries and maybe he just comes on, has an opportunity and never looks back. And at the moment he's smashing out. And yeah, it might be a case where, again, he's probably not going to play off the left. He'll play more central, so maybe it would take Son moving to the left or something. But maybe it could be a case of one of those talented youngsters is getting an opportunity out of nowhere kind of thing.
Yeah, in the case of Jamie Donley, I do kind of suspect like he only gets his chance on a consistent basis if Maddison is out injured. I think that's his position, to be honest. And if you're moving Sonny out to the left, I think he'll probably favour more like Alejo Véliz as a number 9 as opposed to Jamie Donley. But I would like to see Jamie Donley get his chance maybe off the bench when Maddison is tiring through games, or when we have to manage Maddison Henderson's minutes if he is close to an injury, because he has been over the past couple of weeks. So in that case, I can see him getting minutes. But if it's a replacement for someone like Manor Solomon, I don't really see it, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Next up, let's talk about Yago Santiago, another player making waves in the PL2 for Tottenham Hotspur. He's played 5 games, 5 goals, 3 assists, and he predominantly does play on the left wing. So this is one which I can really see him stepping up, or even getting some minutes if we need players on that left-hand side. Obviously, I do see like Bryan Gil being way ahead of him, because obviously he's much older and adept to these situations. But I think if we do get another injury in those areas, I think Yago Santiago will be one of the first ones where they'll look to call an out-and-out left winger, getting goals and assists for fun in the PL2 in the under-21s. And under Antonio Conte, he trained a bit with the first team, and even now under Ange Postecoglou, he's training a bit with the first team.
Yeah, and he's 20, and we can already see as well, can't we? In the first team, we got Udogie, we got Sarr, both 20 years of age as well. So it's like, I'm not saying he's old, but it's not like he's a kid. He's not like he's a teenager. He's 20 years of age, and he's smashing out in the left wing position for our under 21. So it kind of makes sense that he can maybe give him a go, and maybe he can surprise a few people. He's also a very exciting talent. He's won this season, which he's providing lots of goal contributions out on the left hand side. He seems to be a tricky customer as well, and he's scoring lots of goals, so he clearly knows where the goal is. So maybe this is the case where if we're looking for someone to play left wing, obviously Donley is playing very well at the moment, but maybe Santiago would be the one to be given that chance to, given his age and given his output at the moment and the position he plays in.
Yeah, this one is the one I think, like, as opposed to Jamie Donley, it's not really his natural position where Manor Solomon is, but it is his natural position. So I actually think, like, if we're looking for someone to bring someone out from the youth for the left wing, it will be more him than Jamie Donley. And last but not least, the 5th and final player we're going to talk about is Jude Soonsup-Bell, a player that we nicked off Chelsea not long ago. He's an interesting player, actually. This year for the under-21s in the PL2, he's played 5 games, scored 4 goals, assisted twice. He's played 2 games off the right wing, but he's played 3 games as a centre forward as well. So a very versatile player. He definitely knows where the net is. And I do think players like Alejo Véliz is obviously ahead of him, but he's definitely one to keep an eye on, because he's getting regular goals and assists, and he looks like to have real quality about him.
Yeah, he looks quite two-footed as well, and he looks physically like he's developing quite nicely as well. So look, I haven't seen as much of him in terms of individual highlights as I have of Donley and Santiago, but I did see the game against Colchester, and he looked unbelievable. Some really nice finishes from the edge of the box as well. So I think he's probably behind the other 2 when it comes to getting chances, but I also like the look of him, and I think those 3 players, I think keep a close eye on them over the next, hopefully maybe this season, but definitely over the next couple of years, because I think they're all going to get their opportunities, hopefully. Yeah,
we've got so many players like in the attacking positions for in the under-21s. I mean, it's not like realistic, like they all come through, but you're looking at players like Alfie Devine, Dane Scarlett, and the 3 players that we're talking about now. And not only that, you've got Will Lancashire as well, who we haven't spoken about even. So many players for not that many positions, though.
100%. But when you look at, I think at the moment with the injuries that we have, like, I really hope that we do just like throw caution to the wind and really throw them in. And you know what, as well, with Ange, I've had the feeling that he might be more willing to do it, because I remember listening to him before the season, because he was questioned about throwing Van de Ven in straight away. He had only been in the club a few days, hadn't he? And he threw him in straight away against Brentford. And he said he instead of like bedding him in and maybe playing Dyer or maybe playing Davis for the first few games just to have that experience, he said he wanted to throw them in straight away just so they can get acclimatized as soon as possible. And he really believed in their quality, and he thought, look, they're good enough to do it. Why don't I just throw them in and see if they can basically sink or swim? So based on that kind of philosophy that he's been going with a lot of these players, where he's been throwing them in a lot, even despite their ages, maybe he would be more willing to look, Santiago, he's a left winger, he's doing well, why not just throw him in? Let's see how he does.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the 5 players we think that could potentially step up in the absence of Manor Solomon. And the 5 players we spoke about were Alejo Véliz, Bryan Gil, Jude Soonsup-Bell, Jamie Donley, and Yago Santiago. Let me know in the comment section below, which one do you think is the most likely player to step up in the absence of Manor Solomon for the next 3 to 4 months. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Do check out our brand new website, wattv.co.uk, for your latest blog posts. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.